Yeah, we were just checking the audio. I don't think anybody could hear us on YouTube because I still muted it. Ah,
Ah,
yes, another
big,
bloody
big aim of that.
surprise for us. Ah, it's a good job that this is a test stream, isn't it?
They can hear us on YouTube now, I believe, Tim, having just checked it myself.
Excellent, good. Yeah, like I said, it's a good thing that this is a test stream. This is the second one at the start of the year. We're going to do another test stream next week, and then we're going to go and have a proper launch of our live stream every week. From then, you will be able to find us on the library calendar. That's pretty exciting news, Alex, isn't it?
So, Tim, shall we introduce ourselves?
Oh, are you sticking to the script already? Oh,
A little
yes.
bit, yeah.
Well, why don't you start by introducing yourself, Mr. Alexander Wood?
So, yeah, as Tim just said, I'm Alexander Wood. I work in the skills team and I make online content like this one. Yesterday, I ran an academic writing workshop, and so hopefully, I can be able to share some of the tips that I raised then, but also some of the tips I couldn't fit into that workshop here in this live stream today.
Yes, because there was, I think we had 87 students attend our session yesterday, which again, it wasn't a record. I don't think it was a record, but it's a really good number of people to show up for one of our sessions. So we know that academic writing is a popular topic and we need to do something with that. So I'll just briefly introduce myself before Alice gets really annoyed with me. I'm Dr. Tim Zelstra. I am the Library Experience and Skills Manager for the University of Derby. So one of my jobs is to look after our skills output, which includes this thing like academic writing and all sorts of other stuff. And yeah, we are experimenting on YouTube because one of the things that we really want to do is to make things less scary and more accessible. And that's what this live stream is all about, I think.
Well, this particular live stream is all about academic writing itself, but the overall live stream is slightly different.
Absolutely.
What we're talking. So, Tim, what are we talking about in this live stream today?
So I'm going to start and talk to you about and I have to read it on my other screen, the Derby Diamond, which I shouldn't have to read because I developed it myself, so I should know what I'm talking about. The Derby Diamond is basically a method I've developed over the years to help students understand the whole process of writing an essay or a report and getting better at doing it, planning it better, but also making that academic writing more sort of successful. I think successful is a good way of putting it. So we will talk about that, and then I believe after that we are going to talk about
Well, backwards planning for a little bit.
backwards
So, I'm
planning.
going to talk about backwards planning. I'll give you an activity that you can undertake outside of the workshop if you'd like to. And then we're going to show some resources that we've created in the past in our library resource spotlight called the Assignment Journey podcast. And then, Tim, what we're going to talk about after that?
And then is that the you might find it useful to know bit that
Yes.
we agreed on, and I'm only just reading now for the first time. So one of the things that we're looking at is some of the questions that we've been getting over the last few weeks or days about different things, and today we're going to look at the. I want a better word for this, but let's call it the PCOL structure and the paragraph structure and how to use paragraphs, which is basically is what we talked about in the workshop yesterday as well.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that, having a discussion about how you can use that paragraph structure to improve your academic writing. And then we're going to be showing you a resource that we have available at the university for grammar. We've got Bibliu, which is a place where you can find ebooks online that are study skills related. However, in there is a book that Tim's going to showcase about improving your grammar. So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
But before we do any of that, Tim, you're going to talk about the Derby Diamond. So
I am going to talk about Derby Diamond, and Alex and I we've been working on setting up the live stream all morning. And about 3 minutes ago, I went, it would have been handy if I'd had a slide to show a diamond, but I don't. So we're just gonna talk about it, and hopefully my verbal explanation will be clear enough for you to understand what I am actually talking about. So the Derby Diamond is literally the shape of, on playing cards you get hearts, diamonds, spades, and trumps, I think, is it? Hearts, spades, trumps, diamonds. Yeah, whatever. You
I
know the
don't think it
diamond. The
is.
diamond that you get is like that, right? Basic diamond, just four sides to it. So the Derby diamond is basically that shape, and that shape you can use to actually understand the whole process better. And I will try and explain it as clearly as possible as we go along. So if you think about the diamond, there's two axes in it. There's one that's horizontal and one vertical. And I'm using the camera at full effect here. I'm trying to get it straight. I can't quite get it straight. But yeah, there's a vertical and a horizontal axis. And the horizontal axis represents time. So you will be told to do an assignment and to hand it in at some point in the near future. And that means that you know when you should start on your work and when you should hand it in. And that time frame is really important. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a second. What the vertical axis does, though, is that's your knowledge of the subject that you're writing about. And that's the key to becoming really successful at writing. For example, an essay, it can be a report, it can be reflective writing, whatever you want to apply it to. But any sort of written submission that you have at university, the Derby Diamond will hopefully be able to help you understand better how to make most of the time that you've got and how to plan your work properly. So when you get the assignment, you usually get something like a marking grid. You get a bit of an understanding. I think they call it a matrix these days of the things that are important. Is that
Or
what
an
it's called?
assignment brief.
An assignment brief. But you get a matrix as well, Alex. I think in some courses. I don't think you
Sometimes, yeah.
will. Yeah. So you already got an idea of what it is that the person that's marking your work will be looking for. And that should help you to understand the things that you need to do to get your assignment submitted successfully. Now, it's very easy to receive the assignment brief and then put it in a folder and tuck it away because you're more interested in what's going on in the lecture or whatever it is. I highly recommend as soon as you get the assignment in your hands, you actually give it a read. What would be the benefit of doing that early on, Alex?
Well, you can get your head around what the question is, and then you can spend the rest of the time that you've got digesting that question and truly understanding it. I would actually recommend reading it a number of times, highlighting it, working out what the keywords are, what's required of you, and what you need to do for your assessment. And I think that's really important. I've done it myself, where I've actually submitted an answer that wasn't quite what the marker was looking for, and that's because I didn't properly understand the question. So the first thing I do, properly analyze what I've been given.
It is genuinely one of the biggest frustrations for anybody setting an assignment is that students don't always get the question and they don't then try and understand the question. And as someone who's been teaching before in the past, come and talk to me. There's nothing wrong with you asking me to clarify the question so you're sure you're answering the right question. And it's such a shame to see students fail a course simply because they didn't understand the question. So come and talk to your lecturer. That's what they're here for, and they will be able to explain it to you. But actually, analyzing that question goes a bit further as well. And you mentioned the word keywords, Alex. Keywords are actually really important. So if you get asked to critically analyze the pedagogy of Bloom, and not Orlando Bloom, but Bloom, the famous taxonomy of teaching guy who wrote a book on this ages ago. If you get asked to critically analyze that sort of text, it gives you a very firm sort of, you need to read that book probably. You know that you need to start finding some information around that taxonomy of Bloom and start to get it better, get a better understanding of it. But you could also be asked like, compare and contrast the politics of Russia in 1910 to Russia in 1960. And all of a sudden you've got a very different question where you will need to do a bit more reading, a bit more background. It's not about one particular text. And you will do that by actually building up an understanding of the keywords about the topic that you want to be talking about. And when you begin, you won't have all the keywords, right? And that's perfectly acceptable because you're learning about the topic. And it's really important to understand that learning means that you get a better understanding of that topic. And quite frequently, students will go into an assignment thinking that they will know how to answer it anyway and not understand that it takes a bit of effort to expand that knowledge. So that axis that I started off about, that vertical axis that is knowledge, is really important. You need to expand your knowledge about the topic that you're going to be writing about. And what's the best way to do that, Alex? How would you get a better understanding of a topic?
Well, it's quite simple. Research. research from what you've been given, research from the reading list you've got, and then further expand from that into journals that you find by doing your own research searches.
Yeah. And what do you use for research? Do you go on to, I don't know, Google?
Library Plus quite regularly. Google Scholar is something that you can use. With my background, I use a lot of legal databases. So if there's any subject-specific databases for your course, make sure you use those.
Yeah. So the trick there is, and I mentioned Google on purpose, it's usually really easy to just try and Google your question and see what comes up and then use that as the foundation for what you're going to write about. You've got to remember that if that's easy for you, it's also easy for the person who's marking your work. And if you come up with a lot of websites for resources, for example, you're probably going to end up getting a worse grade than you thought you were going to get, because the marker will know that you've not been using quality resources. So try and stick to your library resources and use those preferably. But I will also mention that a really good starting point, and I think you know what's coming, Alex. One of our colleagues, Caroline Ball, is the Wikimedian of the Year. What are we going to say about Wiki, Alex?
Well, Wikipedia is a very good place to start off your research. I would never actually cite Wikipedia, just to say that. But if you want to get your head around a topic as a whole and come up with some questions for your research, reading about subject areas on research can be something that's useful. So that's something a place where I have to actually start. But I would never cite it, but it can actually be a launch pad to take me to my further research and to find the sources and ask the questions I want to get answered.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to go, I need to make sure I'm getting this right. I'm just going to go to Wikipedia and highlight one of the things that is so cool about Wikipedia that people forget about quite regularly. I'm going to use my magic button, and we should be seeing Wikipedia there now, or at least shortly. And on Wikipedia we can look, so I could find Bloom taxonomy that I mentioned earlier, because you might have heard that and then went, what is he on about? What is Bloom's taxonomy? Well, Bloom's taxonomy is actually an educational resource that's helping you to understand the question in a way, and this is used a lot in research for pedagogy, for learning and teaching. And on here, the reason I'm highlighting this particular article is you get a lot of information. Like you can see here, there's lots of different keywords that are being described, that are having more information about all these things. But what you also get right at the bottom of it, and I'm having to scroll, is your references. And these references tend to be valid references. You are able to identify good quality resources related to your topic. If you go to Wikipedia, you could find here a reference on the American biology teacher, and it's got a bit of a abstract with it as well. So you can start thinking about the topic in more detail simply by going on to Wikipedia. And I should be switching back now. Yes, we're back now. Good. So yeah, you can use Wikipedia to find sources, and it's as simple as that. And we might not always have those sources in the library, but it gives you a starting point to really explore the topic as well.
I totally agree, Tim.
Yeah.
So what's next in the Derby Diamond then?
So the key there, we've just talked about doing that research and getting that research going, and you do that early on. One of the problems that a lot of students have is that they start writing before having done that reading and research, and that's not always the best way to do it. So when I say start writing, I need to qualify this a little bit. It's a bad idea to open up a Word document with the intention of that thing that you are going to write in that Word document being the thing that you're going to submit for that assignment. So that is a bad way of doing it. What's a good way of writing, or starting to write, is actually by taking really good notes, and you're note taking on the stuff that you're finding, on the stuff that you are researching. And the better the notes you write, the easier it becomes to finalize your essay or report or whatever it is. Because you can actually use those notes in your final product, right? The better your notes are, the better it becomes to, the easier it becomes to finish your essay. Is that something that you recognize?
Yeah.
I'm going to reference your legal background or your journey to becoming a legal eagle.
Yes. So when I was doing my assessments at undergraduate level a few years back, I would do exactly that. So I would actually have at least 3 documents for any given assignment. So I'd have one which all my research goes in, and then I'd sometimes make a second one where I'd organize that research. Other times I just organize it within that document. The second one is where I actually create my structure and I'd plan what my headings are going to be, what points I'm going to make from that research that I've got. And I almost put it into a paragraph structure there. And then my third document is actually my first draft. Sometimes that will get swapped out for my second draft a month, but that is the thing that I will write in.
Yeah. And let's be clear, it's different for everybody, right? So over the recent years, if you're a student at the university now, you get free access to OneNote, for example. You could use OneNote. You could actually get a real good grasp of what OneNote can do. And it's a brilliant tool for organizing notes and things whilst you're doing your research. You can do that. You mentioned that you have 3 documents open. I'm quite old now, so I used to have something called actually the Dutch word is schrift. I don't even know what this is. It's a notepad, isn't it? Notepad.
Yes, a notepad is a thing.
I'm showing the empty page on purpose, but I used to keep one of those and had one for each subject that I was working on, and just keep everything in there. But fortunately, these days you don't really need that anymore. You can do everything online and work digitally. So really important, right? The taking notes is key to getting the results right, and this is a thing that it's quite difficult to explain, but once you know that you've written enough notes, you will also know that you are able to write the final product.
Yeah, no, go on. The thing that I would say is, if you can understand what your answer to the question is going to be, you can then write it in a way that the person marking it can understand it.
Absolutely.
So getting your head around what you're actually going to write and creating a structure and knowing that you've got the right research there can help make it clear when someone's reading your work what you actually want and what you mean.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you're trying to achieve, right? You will know when you are able to answer the question. And one of the things that I noticed yesterday, I'm sure you picked up on it as well, Alex, is that students tend to grasp for certainty. So we got questions like, how many paragraphs do you need in a 4,000 word document? I don't know. That depends on the topic. It depends on what you're trying to answer. So the better you do in taking those notes and knowing what things are important and not important, the better you will understand what needs to end up in your assignment. So note-taking is really key, and note-taking is the bridge between reading and writing, right? So that's the best way to explain it. When you are reading, you're constantly picking up on details and you write a note. And I'm going to talk now, Alex, about the double pass, triple pass, quadruple pass. Yeah. You want to explain about that?
I can, or you can, yes. But effectively, when you read something for the first time, that is the first pass through of your brain. When you then make a note of it, so I'd recommend taking notes after you've read a paragraph, you then get that second pass of that information because you're thinking about it twice, you're writing it down. That's in a different format. Then, when you're going through your document and editing that and picking out the key parts and reading back through all the notes that you've made, that's a third pass. And by doing that, you get a better understanding of what you've actually read, and that is really useful for your assignment because you can work out how things link together and properly understand the area.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's this, it's basically cognitive theory, isn't it? The more frequently you get in touch with something, the easier it becomes to remember what you were dealing with, basically. And you can do that with reading, you can do it by note-taking. And that's actually a benefit, right? So the other thing that I will say straight away is your first draft of your document that you are intending to submit will not be perfect. Right? Even if you think it is perfect, that's great, but it probably isn't. And you don't need to worry about that. I think a lot of students get hung up on the fact that their writing isn't as perfect as they would like it to be. It's not as pretty as they would like it to be. That's the wrong way of looking at it, right? Just write, and when you've written it, you're going to fix it anyway. And accepting the fact that you're going to fix it over time is really important. So,
I totally agree.
Yeah, so you're going to talk a bit about backward planning later. It's actually part of the diamond as well, isn't it? So one of the things we talk about, we go back to the horizontal axis. It's the idea that you set a deadline for yourself, for your first draft, away from the actual deadline. And you need to plan how that works and what works best for you within your course. But I actually learned over time that the best thing to do for me was to actually put that deadline 3 weeks ahead of submitting. And then Alex is shocked because that's quite a long time. But actually what's really good about it is you're not worried about writing that draft because you've got plenty of time to fix it. And when you've got that draft done, you can put it away. So let's say you finished the draft on the Friday, and you can then go and have fun in the weekend and literally forget everything about the coursework that you were working on. You can go and do your job, you can go and do a bit of fun in the park with mates, whatever you want to do at the weekend, you just go and do it, you forget about the coursework, and then when you pick it up again because you got a second draft deadline the week after, you then read it with fresh eyes, right? You've actually got to a point where you pick up on all the little details that you didn't pick up on because you were constantly writing it. So you set another deadline for the second draft the week after, third draft the week after that, and then your final submission is the week after that. And actually that'll really help getting you across the line mentally as well, because there's always a block, right? We call it writer's block. I don't believe in writer's block. It's your planning that's creating the block. So stop worrying about it and just do it, and you will get there in the end.
Yeah, I totally agree. The actual art form for my essays comes in the edit. It doesn't come in the first draft. Absolutely. I edit almost every sentence I write in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
To make it perfect.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a bit about paragraphs later on, I believe, aren't we? So I'm not going to touch on that too much. But that's a really important thing as well, is that if you start thinking in paragraphs and writing in paragraphs, and like I said, we will touch on this later, you will actually get a much better understanding of what you're writing as well, and you can actually really improve your academic writing. So that will be really interesting for people to have a look at in a minute as well. So, yeah. In basic, that's the diamond. In its very basic form, that's the diamond. It's about getting the assignment and actually understanding what the question is, then reading and making notes and doing a good job at your research, expanding that knowledge of the topic, then getting to the point where you think, yeah, I can answer this now. That's when you actually start writing a proper first draft. And don't take too long about it either. You get people who think that you need to spend 3 weeks on 2,000 words. No. Spend an evening, couple of evenings to get it down on paper. Then you get to your second draft, then you get to your third draft, and that's when you will actually start to fix what you've written and make it look pretty and make it fit the criteria that you need it to fit. And that's the Derby Diamond in a nutshell. I think that was explained reasonably well. I don't know if you have any questions, Alex.
No, other than to say, when does referencing come into it, Tim?
Yes, very good question. One of our most popular questions is, what do you do with references? So the note-taking, I would say, is when you are making a note on, let's say, a journal article, you actually put citation behind that note. So if you're making a note from a journal paper written by Alexander Wood, you just say Wood 2020, and then you know where you've read it. And then the other thing to do is when you actually find the article, if you use Library Plus, for example, you can email an abstract to yourself. Is it useful for me to show you how to do that? Do you think that would be handy?
It could be useful, yeah, if you'd like to show that.
Yeah, we can show that. It'll only take a couple of seconds anyway. So,
okay.
Do you want to talk on it?
Sorry. I'd 100% back what you're saying there, Tim, because I know as a student I once forgot to actually get the referencing information up, and I then gave my book back to the library, and then when I went to get it back from the library, it had been taken out, so I had to then find the referencing information without actually having access to the book. So I always recommend, as soon as you find something that you want to take notes on, write down the full citation details so that you can then use it.
Wow. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, we are seeing what you're seeing, Tim.
I can't get in.
That's great.
Well, this is useful. Why can I not get in? I thought
Have you made a technical difficulty screen yet, Tim?
Have I what?
Have we made a technical difficulty screen?
Oh,
or scene?
Yes, we have. Yes, there we go. Whilst we wait.
Tim, I can see things on screen at the moment that.
Yeah, technical difficulty screen is up. And we call this technical difficulty screen. What's this technical difficulty? I can't even bloody say it anymore. Technical difficulty screen is called the Unexpected Naomi. Hello, Naomi, our lovely colleague. That's our technical difficulty screen. I have got it up, and now it's doing.
We might get a different one in the future, but this is currently our technical difficulty screen.
This is going to be the meme of the year. The unexpected Naomi. Excellent. I am back on. Woo!
You're back in?
Yeah, I am. I fixed it. I don't know what went wrong there. I think it's because I've got it open on several different browsers, which doesn't help.
If you are watching Naomi, by the way, I apologise.
It's my idea, yeah. Well done, Alex, yeah. So anyway, I've just looked for Bloom taxonomy. And you can see here, adapting Bloom's taxonomy for an agile classification of the complexity of the user stories in Scrum. Our IT colleagues love this sort of paper. But yeah, anyway, what you do is you click on that. It's as simple as that. You like the paper and you go and click on that little blue folder there. And what that does in a really simple way is it puts it in this little folder here. You don't need to sign into Library Plus. You don't need to do anything complicated. You find the things that you like. You click on folder. And then all you have to do is, you can see here we've got the 3 articles where I clicked on the plus. You click on email. And then you write it to your own email address. And, oh, I don't know why I did that. That's a typical Google thing. But you basically get your own citation and abstract and everything sent over. And that's really useful. So it's a really nice way to basically give yourself the information that you need. Alex, you're giggling. I don't know. You're on screen again, just so you're aware. But it's a really good way of giving yourself the... Oh, that is Naomi.
Yes, that's why I was giggling.
Oh dear.
I know I'm muted.
So that's a really good way of keeping track of all your research, because what you get if you have your journal articles is you can actually then put them in a folder in Outlook, and you can keep track of them that way. So you know that they're there. You know that they're related to a particular topic that you've been researching on. So not only do you get the citation and the abstract, you get a link to the actual PDF if we have it, and you can always find your research that way. So it's really good. It's a great way of keeping track of it. And then you use, what do we use for references, Alex?
Cite them right.
Cite them right. So we've got this lovely product. I'm not going to go into the browser again, but it's called Cite them right. And when you find Cite them right, you can see an example of how you should cite it. You can find all the different things, different types of references, and you can actually make sense of the whole lot by using Cite them right. So we highly recommend that. But that's not the topic of the day, is it? So
if you want information on that, we've got a video on the channel about using Cite them right.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
It's in our references playlist.
Yes. So, what are we going to do next, Alex? I can see on my little screen.
Yes, so I'm going to very, very briefly outline backwards planning to you all. So backwards planning is, as a concept, is essentially looking at the deadline and the things that you need to do before that. So what I'd recommend with an assignment is look at the due date that the assignment's in for, and then think about each step that you need to take to get there. So for example, you might have to do referencing, you might have to do proofreading, you might have to do any editing or any further work. You also might want to leave a gap, for example, so that you've got a buffer. So Tim said 3 weeks earlier so that he doesn't feel stressed. I personally say 1 week, but that's my personal opinion. So backwards planning as a concept is a really useful idea, because if you think backwards, instead of writing your assignment, then going, oh, I now need to proofread, I now need to reference, let's do all that in one afternoon, and you don't do that with fresh eyes, it can actually catch you out. Because from some of the students I spoke to whilst I was an undergraduate, they said to me that actually they thought once they finished writing it, they were done. And then they realised referencing takes a lot longer than they think. So by using backwards planning, you can create a timeline or a roadmap of each different step you need to take and how long you think it should take. But by doing it backwards, you can work out when you should probably start doing it and when you should start work on it. The earlier, the better. What I'd recommend with each step is adding a little bit more time than you actually need to do it. So don't just say, oh, it'll take me 1 week to write. Maybe say, it'll take me 1.5 weeks to write if you think it'll take 1 week. That way you've got a little bit of a buffer, and just in case you are falling behind or something comes up, So that way you're secure. And also try and finish it at least a week early so that you have got more of a buffer in case of an emergency. So that's backwards planning in a nutshell. What I'd recommend to you as well, if you have the time after this workshop or live stream, not workshop, if you have time after this live stream, go and create a mock timeline for an assessment. Work out what steps you need from what Tim and I have said from the start and also from what you think, and work out how long it will take you. And you can then apply that to any different assignment that you've done, vary it and make sure the timelines vary in case, so for example, a 2,000 word essay won't take the same amount of time as a 3,000 word essay. But that is a really good idea to help you so that you actually end up with the time you need for each step. Have you got anything else to add on that, Tim?
Well, one of the things I'm thinking is our students get access to Outlook, the
Yes.
Microsoft email client thingy online or on desktop or whatever you want it on your phone. And actually, I do this myself. In my Outlook, I put reminders for myself that I need to do something. So there's no point in backward planning if you're going to stick it on a piece of paper, then hide it in a drawer and never look at it again.
Yes.
So having something prompting you to look at again is really useful. Is there any other tools that you can think
Yes.
of, Alex, that you might use?
So within Outlook itself, there is a tasks app within it, which you can use for setting yourself tasks and deadlines and also include information that you need to do. You can also use an app which is available on the Office 365 tile on Udo called To Do, which I think is quite useful. You can get that on your phone as well.
Yeah.
They're both really good apps for task management and time management, and can help with backwards planning. And just setting calendar events for the process. Although if you've got multiple of them, it doesn't necessarily work. But calendar events can work with that.
Yeah, and To Do is one of the things I was looking at as well, because it locks into your diary, basically, to your Outlook inbox and to your Outlook calendar. And To Do will actually remind you quite handily of the things that you forgot to do, which Alex and Naomi will know. I sometimes forget things. And then To Do actually reminds me that I forgot it, and then I get told off, and I go, I knew I forgot it. You can't tell me off about it. So it's useful for that perspective as well, isn't it?
I totally agree. So shall we move on to our library resource spotlight now, Tim?
Yeah. So what do you want to show first, Alex?
I think it would be good if you could show the Assignment Journey podcast on YouTube and also on podcasting platforms.
Good. So I think, yes, I've gone to the website. I need to look beyond my camera for that. So if you want to go and find our YouTube channel, the easiest way to do it, I'm just going to do it in here, is to go to YouTube and you then search for Derby Uni Library.
I feel like if people are watching this live stream, they probably know how to get to our YouTube channel.
They probably do, but even then, we're going to highlight it. You find our channel here. Like and subscribe. Yeah, we're proper YouTubers. I'm waving at the camera, but you're not seeing the camera. It doesn't matter. Ring that bell for notifications. Yeah, we've done this all before. But yeah, no, seriously, subscribe to our channel, mainly for our own benefit, because if we get 1,000 subscribers, we get to unlock all sorts of cool stuff that we want for the channel, but we can't do it yet because we haven't got enough subscribers. So make our subscriber list full and wholesome and join up. You can always then mute it and not get any notifications, but we of course don't want that. So on here you've got the playlists, and one of the playlists, skills podcasts, and we've got where is the assignment journey?
The assignment journey is slightly further down. I can't see your screen yet though, because I'm 10 seconds behind.
Right, yeah. We're there. I've got it
Hello
up.
there, and welcome to the Assignment Journey podcast.
And that is lovely, Alex. I don't know if you heard that.
I did hear it.
You did hear
Although
it.
I heard it through Zoom.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you heard it on the...
What was the reason that you created the assignment journey? Well, we created the assignment journey, Alex.
Essentially, the assignment journey is an expansion on the Derby Diamond that Tim discussed earlier. What it is a podcast, is each step of the assignment, but broken down. So we've broken down the assignment into 8 steps and 8 podcasts, although there's a 9th one, which is once you finish the assignment, reflecting on it. So the assignment journey essentially is we interview a guest who's a specialist or an expert on that individual area, and we outline each area. So we've got one on academic writing, for example, but we've also got one about understanding the question. And we have one for each different element including research and so on. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. We have it available on YouTube, but we've also got it available, and it's actually a lot more popular on Spotify, on platforms like Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts, just search Derby Uni Library, and it will come up. I would show it on my screen, but Tim's the one in control of the screen. And you can find links to it on the relevant skills guides that we do have. So yeah, that's the assignment journey.
The skills guides are a good thing to highlight as well. I just went back to camera again for a second.
You did?
But yeah, I don't have Spotify on here. But if you just look for Derby Uni Library, you will find us there. You will find us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on all these other platforms that Alex has just mentioned as well. So yeah, just have a look for us and see if you can find us. You mentioned something else that you wanted me to look at there, and I've completely forgot what it was.
So I said about finding it on Spotify and so on, but that's okay. I did mention the skills guides as well.
Skills guides, yes, that's it. Let's go back to the browser. I'm using my magic button, and I'll go to the library website. So on here, you go to find subject information, and you can scroll down and find the skills guides. You don't have to scroll down, by the way. This is the library guides. Our academic library and research library team do loads of work on here to bring any information that we feel we need to bring to people via these different guides. So you can find your different colleges, you can find things about the local studies, about service guides, about the digital library. We've got a section on here that's called skills guides, and on the skills guides you will find, at the moment, we're reviewing this constantly, 14 different skills guides about different topics. So when I click on academic writing, you will see that we have a load of stuff available on academic writing, and that is really cool. The other thing that we have here is, and I always get slightly confused because it disappears when you go there, is the library chat. So I'm just going to highlight that as well. You could just click on the green button. When it's green, it means we're online. When it's red, we're not online. It's normally 9 to 5 every working day. And you can ask your questions, including skills questions, of our lovely team in the library. And they will actually try and help you and get you an answer. So if they can't help you directly on the chat, they will send it on to someone who will be able to answer. And that's a great way of getting the information that you need. So I just want to highlight that.
Sounds good, Tim. So shall we now talk about paragraph structure for academic writing?
Yes, that's a good idea, mainly because you are going to talk about it.
Give yourself a little break then, Tim.
Yeah.
So have you got the slides available on your screen?
I have. I'm going to pull them up.
I'm 10 seconds behind on what I can see on the screen, by the way. So
that's fine, we'll get there. Where do you want me to start? At the PEC?
Can you start on the PECL paragraph structure, which has the little graphic with the different colours on?
Yes. I've got one small problem. I can't show it as a full screen presentation.
Just do it with the notes on. People can then see the notes, I guess.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm just trying to make it so it's big enough so people can see it.
There's a zoom button at the bottom right.
Yeah, I've used that. I think that's it. Yeah, we don't need all that. That's it. Right, that should be fine.
Could you scroll slightly upwards? There you go. Cool.
Yeah, this 10 seconds is really useful, isn't it? It's going to go up and down for a bit.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm just going to talk now about a paragraph structure that you can use within your writing called PEECL. So when you're writing, this is for writing an individual paragraph, and what we would recommend is doing one paragraph per point. This paragraph structure is designed for you to properly use that point so that you can evidence it, you can explain how the evidence actually answers the question, and you can explain how the point with the evidence answers the question. I've also added the criticized part in, so you can add some critical analysis in as well if you'd like to. Next slide, please, Tim. So I'm hoping that Tim has got the answer on screen because I can't see. So it's made up of 5 elements, and the first of these elements is the point. So each paragraph, as I've just said, has 1 point per paragraph. Here, in the point, you need to state quite clearly what the paragraph is going to argue in 1 or 2 sentences. So what will this paragraph find? What is the point of the paragraph almost? So you need to make this point simple, and you also need to make it clear. When writing your point, consider using the keywords from the question itself. So Tim discussed the keywords in the question earlier, so they can include the informational words. so words that are relevant to the subject matter. That way, you can show how this point actually links to the overall question. So the rest of your paragraph is then used to actually justify the point that you've made. So next slide, please, Tim. So after you do any point, you need to evidence it. Here is where you can use a journal or an academic source to actually evidence and back up the argument that you've made. So this needs to be, as we discussed earlier as well, from a reliable source. So from a journal, a book, a report, something that is reliable, and that depends on your own subject area. But you do always need to make sure that for any point you have at least one source. How many sources to evidence it, that depends. But every time you have a source to evidence a point, always make sure that you explain that point. And that is the third step of this structure. So this step is really crucial because quite a few students fail to do this, and it actually can hinder the mark that they do actually get. So what you need to do is you need to explain how the evidence that you've just given actually justifies the point. If it is missed, then it doesn't actually help your answer. So for example, if you've used a theory, that alone isn't enough to answer your question. You need to say why. So I'll give you an example now. So if the question was, what is the weather? And my answer was, the weather is cold. If I evidence that by saying the average temperature, if I evidence that by saying that the temperature is 4 degrees Celsius, to you, because this is a basic question, that may seem quite obvious, but in an essay with something more technical, 4 degrees might not mean cold. So you need to explain why is 4 degrees actually cold. So you can use other sources to explain that, or you could use words to explain why 4 degrees is cold. So here I can use, in this example, a regional average and say, well, the average temperature for October is 9 degrees. Therefore, 4 degrees is 5 degrees less than the average temperature. Therefore, it's cold. But hopefully you can see from that example why you actually do need to explain how the evidence actually justifies the point. So after explanation, you can sometimes, if you really wanted to, end your paragraph there. However, if you're aiming for higher marks, which I do recommend that you do, you then can follow the next two steps. So this is the criticize step, and then finally the link step. So next slide, please, Tim.
Done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying done, because that's way before I can see it.
Yeah.
So the criticize step is the step where you ask questions about either the evidence that you've given. You can question the method of it, or you can question the evidence with counter arguments, or you can question the point itself. What I would recommend is if you have a counterpoint, so a point that, for example, is directly opposed to the point, you could do that in another paragraph, because a counterpoint is a point and therefore can have its own paragraph. Although do state how it links by using a word like however, or to show that this point is in opposition to this the previous point. So with critical analysis, this is an opportunity to show how you question the source. So you can question the source in many different ways. There are 6 critical questions that you can use, which are who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you can base questions using those to ask questions of the source. We have videos on our channel, which will be linked in the description, about critical analysis that you can look at. If this is in a video, there'll be some links in the cards as well. So do check those out.
I'm just going to jump in for 1 second, because we know this is something that students always ask us about. Actually, there's 2 things that I want to touch on here. So critical analysis isn't difficult, is the first thing to say. You apply critical analysis every day, and you don't need to worry about what is critical analysis. When are we actually being critical? Well, we're being critical all the time. If I go to the shop to buy a loaf of bread, I have a particular flavor that I like, I have a particular brand that I like, I have a particular whether it's mealy or whether it's fluffy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I am applying critical statements to that purchase of that bread. So being critical is just having criteria that help you to make a decision. And that's not difficult. And stop thinking of it as being difficult, it really isn't. So your critical analysis in your writing is you basically showing that you've considered all the criteria that you feel are relevant to the topic. And that then links nicely to the idea of your voice, which we always get questions about as well. So people find it really difficult to understand that if you are using someone else's evidence, it is still you presenting the evidence. It is still your voice that is presenting the evidence. So even though you write that in third person and passive form, it is you who's actually making that point, and therefore it is your voice that is making it. So I'll go back. I think that's right, Alex. I don't think there's much more to add to that. I'll go back to the PowerPoint for the last slide then, yeah?
But yeah, I totally agree with what Tim just said. Critical analysis is something that anyone can do, and you do it in daily life. If you want to hear more about that, watch the videos that will be linked in the description, or check out our channel. We've got a few videos, so just search critical on our channel. So the final part of the paragraph after critical thinking is link. This is where you actually show how, or you try to explain how this paragraph has actually impacted on the overall question. So how does it answer the question, essentially? I think this is the most important, because this is where you explain the relevance of your question, of your answer to the question. So link using the words within the question itself to the question to answer it. So it almost forms a micro conclusion. So you conclude what the paragraph has said and how it answers the question. And when you actually write your overall conclusion at the end of the essay, you can just add up what each of the link sections of the paragraph are. You can also use this as an opportunity to link to the next paragraph and suggest what's coming next. Although sometimes you can do this in the point section as well. But I would argue this is really important. So at the end of each paragraph, try to add on a bolt-on line saying essentially how this paragraph has answered the question. And that will make it very clear to the marker what your answer is from the paragraph. Otherwise, it'll be less saying, okay, you've said this, but what does it mean? By doing this, you've made it explicit and clear, and they'll be far more easier for them to understand what you've said. So just to skip on, I think that will do for the actual presentation, Tim, because I'm looking at the next slides.
Is this PowerPoint available anywhere, Alex?
Is it PowerPoint available? Well, there's a video on our channel called PECL Structure. Is it called that? No, it's called Paragraph Structure and using a paragraph structure to create flow. That's got essentially the same PowerPoint, but without the nice graphics which I made for the academic writing workshop.
Right.
So it is available, and there is a video with me explaining it.
Yeah, we could make it available on the skills guides as well that we talked about earlier, couldn't we?
We could do, yes. So this paragraph leads us on quite nicely to the next section, Tim, which is another time, and we're going to now showcase some more ways that you can improve your academic writing. And now we're going to showcase a grammar tool that is available in Bibliu. So Tim was both going to show Bibliu as a resource off, but he's going to show it off by showing a book available, a book that you can use to improve your grammar. So Tim, go ahead.
Are we throwing in an unexpected Naomi before we do that?
If you really want to.
Well, that was a weird question. Of course I want to. Yes, here we go. So just as a bit of background, and I'm really sorry, Naomi, I know it's a bit trollish this, and it shouldn't be. But basically we made lots of... there's Naomi, there we go. I love this. It's the best thing ever. Basically what we've done is we created lots of graphics, if you like, for YouTube and for our videos and stuff. And I was going through them all before this stream just to check what we had and what was there. And I looked at that one, and all of a sudden Naomi stood in front of me on the screen, and I'm like, well, that was unexpected. I thought we have to use that. So there we go. That's our unexpected Naomi. We're gonna not abuse it. We'll not do it again after this, I think, but maybe next week. Anyway,
you can find the next meme of the week.
Yeah.
So yes, Tim, let's talk about Biblium.
It depends on whether... Stop moving me on. I was going to say, it depends whether she's going to murder me or not. Just like she pushed you out of picture video last year, I think it was.
It actually happened in 2 videos, but we won't talk about that.
Anyway, we are going to the browser. And so this is the LibGuides again. We're back at the LibGuides. You can see here the skills guides. I'm going to click on that.
So what are we showing, Tim?
Hey?
What are we actually showcasing here?
Oh, we're showcasing Bibliu. Yeah, I'll get to that. No worries. Okay. So, going to the academic writing. Can you guys tell, by the way, how Alex is checking on me? Because he knows that I'm quite chaotic. He's making sure that I am staying on track, which is really good because someone needs to. So what we have here is the academic writing skills guide, and you can see here the Biblius Study Skills ebook collection. And when you click on that, it'll actually give you, if it'll log you in, which it should do, it is just done for me, it'll give you access to free books that you can use throughout your career. You can see here, you can actually download your books.
As a University of Derby student, I think. I don't
yes,
know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's only for University of Derby students. But you can scan the QR code and then you get an app on your phone, and it'll have these books in, and you can then read them on your phone if you want to. But you can also read them online like I'm doing now. And they're basically yours. They're your ebook. You can make notes in it and you can do stuff with it. And I think this is a fantastic resource. And I'm going to highlight a few of them as we go along. But there's one in particular that we're going to talk about, I think, today. And that's the Improve Your Grammar. Because we get a lot of questions about grammar. So this selection of skills books was actually handpicked by me and colleagues. And for the main purpose that we want to have something there that was useful for the entire journey of you as a student. So we've got an exam skills handbook, Achieving Peak Performance, written by, and this is genuinely a legend in skills books, Stella Cottrell. We've got the undergraduate research handbook. So if you have been asked to do a bit of research, to prove your mettle when it comes to research and understand what research is, that'll be really handy for you. We've got one on dissertations and project reports, and it's actually really interesting that it's combined those two, because in a way a dissertation is a report on a project that you have completed, and this is a really useful book for people in the third year, but also for earlier if you're doing a project and you need to report on that, which a lot of our students have to do. Then you can see critical thinking skills. And again, this is a topic that we know keeps coming back and that people have all sorts of different ways of explaining. Stella Cottrell is a legend in this area, and this book will really help you get to grips with critical thinking and what it is. Then there's the Improve Your Grammar, which we're going to talk about, studying in English. Mainly for students for whom English is second language, but actually useful for everybody, so have a look at that.
100%.
Yeah, I've not actually read it yet, Alex. I'm going to admit that I haven't read it.
I'm going to start reading it for our section on Grammar Topic of the Week.
Ah, yes, the section that I'm trying to avoid like the plague. I think that's probably
the section I keep trying to give you.
I know, yeah. Talk about commas, Tim. What? Presentation skills for students. So presentations are one of the key things that students always struggle with, and we want you to be able to get a bit more confident and a bit more fluent when it comes to presentations. Exploring strategy, I'm not actually sure what that one is about. It was recommended to me, and again, I need to read it myself. How to write better essays, absolutely brilliant. Mindfulness for students, you know, if you're in any way impacted by the fact that it's really busy at the moment, you're doing a lot of online work, it's difficult to get by, whatever it is, mindfulness is such a useful resource. And again, Stella Cottrell authored this book to give you hints and tips on mindfulness. And I'm genuinely, I always thought it was a bit of a faff, and these days I pay a lot more attention to being mindful, and it's really helping me. So give that a go as well. How to use your reading in your essays, really important. The diamond, we talked about how important reading is. Grow your knowledge, your understanding of a topic, and you do that through reading. Then
there's a broad range, isn't there, Tim, of books that we've got available?
Yeah, and I'm going to go through all of them, Alex.
Okay.
I know you're trying to stop me, but I am going through all of them, just to highlight them all. There's the how to write your undergraduate dissertation, professional writing, so that's more about report writing and stuff like that. Another one on reading at university, and this is why I wanted to get through all of them, Alex, because this gentleman, Garrett Hughes, is actually affiliated to the University of Derby, and has written this book about well-being and academic performance. And again, it's that understanding that if you're doing well mentally, then you will do better academically, and that's really important. Anyway, was that quick enough? It probably wasn't, but we will.
So Tim, let's talk about what people can do within a book. So let's use the example of the grammar book then.
Yes. I knew you were pushing me that way. I am going there now, Alex. Improve your grammar. So you'll see here.
Once we've done this, we've got time for some questions.
Yeah, if there is any questions, we've got a few people watching. If you have any questions, do put them in the chat and we will try and answer them. So this book, basically, you can read it just like this, right? Like a flat book, a PDF, or whatever you want to call it. And that's great. But if you use the tools up here, you can do some more with it. So if I click on that, I can put it in Flux Mode, which is actually designed to help if you are dyslexic or just to help you read it a bit better. I always find this mode better to read than on white. You can also put it on night mode, which inverts it. So when you're reading at night, it's actually more restful on your eyes as well. You will all know this from your phones anyway these days. You can also print it, which is quite obvious, and then you can look at the references. And this, I believe, is per page that you are on. So let me just see if I can find a different page. Wait for it to come up now. You can see I've prepared this segment really well. Why is that? I don't know why that's not showing everywhere. Is this literally all the references? It could be. I might be wrong. There's a bit of an maybe I should have clicked on that. There's a help function that will help you to use it. And then also here you've got a search. So we are looking at... there we go. That's what I want.
I was going to say, yeah, search at the top left.
Yeah, this is for the highlights, isn't it? Just select some text in the reader and highlight a comment. So we can do that in a minute. The search. So I want to know about the Oxford comma. I keep hearing about the Oxford comma. And what does that actually mean? I hope it's in here, but I'm now thinking it might not be.
Try comma.
Hey?
Oh, it's come up.
Yeah,
I am way behind.
You are way behind, yeah. I've typed in Oxford comma and it's not covered in this book, which I'm slightly disappointed about. So what we will do then is just look at comma in general, and you will then be able to find any page where it talks about commas. So I've just clicked on that. It's going to page 50 now. Hopefully it should load any second now. My internet's taking a bit of a hammering because I'm also streaming at the moment. So this is taking longer than it should.
One of the really cool features about this is, which I don't think you've mentioned yet, Tim, is that unlike some other ebooks that you might use, it saves your progress. So yes. It actually saves. So if you were to highlight, for example, in this book, or to add a comment,
yeah.
If you go back to reading the same book, it will have the same comments in there, and it will have the same highlights. Yeah. So, which is really good because it often when people talk about ebooks, they can't highlight them, and I really think it's a really, really good feature of Biblio.
You can actually do that in quite a lot of ebook readers, but this one is particularly well designed. I've just gone out of it because I've noticed that my internet isn't actually coping with it at the moment. But it's just a really useful resource, and you're able to use it all the way through your journey with the University of Derby. So in 3 years' time, if you're a current undergrad who's just started, in 3 years' time, you will still have these books in your account, which is really nice. Yeah, so that's Biblio in a flash. I think the app works better, by the way. I've not used the app. I can't show you the app at the moment through the way that we stream this. We'll try the app as well. I think the app is actually really good on this and handy to have around. You know, if you just want to look for something real quick, you use the app and then you get whatever information you need. I've just noticed, by the way, that we're allowed to keep Unexpected Naomi in the stream. So yes. I'm definitely happy about that, yes.
So just before we wrap up the stream, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If not, then don't worry. Can we showcase the Enhance Your Learning calendar for further resources on academic writing?
We can, yes. So let me click on that.
Because we run regular workshops on the Enhance Your Learning calendar. So Tim, if you could show people where to go to find this, that would be really useful. Remember, I am 10 seconds behind you, so I can't see where you are.
I am doing it. You can see my Biblio is still hanging there.
Yeah.
And now we're on the library calendar.
we have some really good upcoming events for that can help with academic writing. For one, we've got an academic writing workshop that's coming up. Do you want to do it on the library website, Tim?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because that'll
I
have the
prefer
workshop
finding it
list.
via libcal.ac.uk. But I'll show you how to get here from the library as well. But I've just looked for academic writing, and you can now see that we've got building your arguments, which is really good for academic writing. We've put on an extra workshop because yesterday's was fully booked, so we've got one coming up next Thursday. And
That's selling out quite well as well, isn't it?
yeah, we've already got 31 sign. Is that 31? Yeah, it is 31 sign-ups for that, so that's good. And you can see that we've got a load more. So I'm actually going to go, scroll all the way down, see full calendar, and you can actually filter this. It's a really powerful tool. It's not always obvious how to use it, but you can look at all these different things here. If you want to know about referencing, you can find out.
We've got a new link on the website that auto puts you into workshops, for example. That's really useful. So it just tells you what all the workshops are.
Oh, I know what you mean now. That's why you wanted me to do that. Yeah. Okay. I'll just
That's
do
really
that
useful because you can see at a glance without seeing the clinics, or if you are looking for clinics or academic librarians, you can go into a link that shows you those as well.
Yeah.
Which means you get what you're looking for.
I'm just throwing in an unexpected Naomi whilst I switch from side to side. There we go. And then timing this with the delay, it's really difficult. But yeah, so we have here the library website. Unexpected Naomi. Oh, I timed it beautifully. Did you see that? I'm such a pro. We have the library website, and then you can go and
Scroll down a little bit more. Oh, sorry, I'm behind, aren't I?
Yeah, clinics and drop-ins. So enhance your learning, learn online with the library. And then you go to clinics and drop-ins or academic and research skills workshops. This is what you wanted, Alex, wasn't it? Clinics and drop-ins.
Yes, so there's a calendar. You can use a link on the right there that takes you directly to just the workshops that we're running, and you can see at a glance what workshops we have.
So you wanted me to click the different one, but because I'm behind, I didn't know that. So now I've clicked on the workshops, drop-ins, clinics, enhance your learning with the library, and that is where you will find loads of really great workshops as well.
Relevant workshops to what we've just mentioned. On the 27th of October, we've got a note-taking workshop. We have an academic writing one on the 15th of October. Time management works into backwards planning on the 20th of October. We've got on the 13th of October, introduction to referencing and starting and write. And on the 3rd of November, we've got studying at university, introduction to the key skills, and 10th of November, proofreading. But feel free to have a browse around and see what is available. All them workshops will hopefully be useful to you developing your academic skills in terms of academic writing.
Absolutely.
And other skills.
Absolutely. So, we're concluding here. I just want to say, if there is any topics that you want to talk about, these live streams, and I think this might be, we might have managed, Alex, to be able to upload this as a whole. Because I think the audio was good, I think the video was good, I think the jokes were good, maybe needed more jokes. But in general, you might be able to see this stream later on when it wasn't live. But the whole purpose behind these live streams is that we can react to what you want us to do. So we're running these every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:30 normally. You will be able to tell us what you want us to talk about. So use that, we've got that flexibility here. And you can actually let us know what you would like us to talk about, which I think is really great. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. We are the only university library in the whole country, and I think the whole world. I might be over-exaggerating here, but I'm not going to deny it. We're really cool, and because we're really cool, we're the only library that's live streaming on YouTube. Don't you think, Alex?
Currently, in our belief.
Yes.
Without any thorough research.
Even if that isn't true, it's still cool. YouTube.
There is a highly likely chance that we are the only university library in the world.
Exactly that. And YouTube's only existed for 15 years, so we're very early adopters as well, That's the key to this.
Highly likely. Not certain.
Very likely. And on that note, Alex, shall we give it a... Oh, have I got an outro screen?
You did last time.
I don't think I do. I'm just going to do Unexpected Naomi and then...
Okay, I gave you I gave you one last time, and we used one last time. I don't know if you've lost it or whatnot.
No, I've replaced it with the 10-minute timer. Which, by the way, just to say, I'm switching it. click, click. The 10-minute timer is really cool. I love Steve's work on that. We're going to get more of that stuff in. You've seen it real quick. Yeah, we're going to end on an unexpected Naomi. I don't see any other questions have come in. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And do let us know what you would like. Thumbs up.
I like how you touched up what we're doing because I can't see.
Oh, wait. Are we still audio?
I was about 4 seconds off. I got my thumb in.
No, look, I'm still streaming. Yeah, there's Naomi. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Excellent. Bye. Bye. Bye.